Hello and welcome back to Sports Circle in Focus. It is an absolute pleasure for me to welcome one of our more decorated athletes that we've had in India. We've had the pleasure of covering, we've had the pleasure of seeing in action. The first Indian equestrian ever to reach the finals of an individual eventing event. So that is great at the Olympics. Double Asian Games medalist, Arjuna awardee, and winner of countless international honors for India, Mr. Fouad Mirza. Thank you so much for joining, Fawad, and just really, really glad that you could take out the time.
Thank you very much for having me, Sajay. Thank you.
So, how's it going? First of all, like how are things going with the sport at this point in time?
For us eventers, it's a quiet time in the year, winter
Yeah,
periods, an outdoor sport. So due to the weather conditions, we have to stay keep our training indoors. So it's a slightly quiet time, but it's the time for the horses to rest a little bit
yeah.
and we start to prepare them and get them ready for the 2025 season ahead. And yeah, so bit of
I
downtime.
I I asked that because you've been doing this for I think since you were 3, 4, maybe if I'm not wrong. How has the answer to this question changed? How is it going with equestrian? How has the answer changed over the years?
So it's it's something that started off first as a hobby,
Yeah,
and then it became a competitive hobby, and now it's become my profession. So it's progressively developed into a way of life for me,
yeah,
um, and yeah, I don't think I would do anything else other than what I'm doing right now. So it gives me so much satisfaction and pleasure. And of course, there are highs and lows in any journey, in any sphere of life, for that matter.
yeah, yeah,
I feel sometimes in equestrian sport, you're on a low a lot of the times,
yeah.
but it builds character, it builds resilience. So I am very very happy with what I do.
Okay, we'll get into that in terms of the lows and dealing with all of it. But I generally I love asking people, every athlete, I love asking about their first memory with that particular sport. But I genuinely think in your case, I don't think you have a memory of not being around horses, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
absolutely. That's very correct. I've been fortunate to, let's say, come from a horsey background, as people sometimes say.
yeah,
My is a vet who specialized in horses, and they ran a stud farm in Bangalore, and I grew up there. So they were in my system from a very young age. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't think there's one memory without horsing there.
yeah.
A day in life where I've not seen a horse.
That's exactly so I believe that takes an interesting turn in terms of, like you said, your father, Dr. Hasnain Mirza, is one of the leading equine veterinarians in the country at this point. And I believe, from what I've read, your elder brother is also
Yes.
in the same field. How did sport happen for you? I mean, since you were surrounded by people who were on more of the medical front.
Yes, I think by nature I was always a competitive individual. I liked sports in school as well,
Yeah.
and we also rode. And then we went to a couple of horse shows. It must have been the Zoom horse show, the Princess Zoom horse show in the Palace grounds in Bangalore. And once we went there and saw that competition and stuff, I think after that I really wanted to get competing rather than just hobby riding, going 1 hour after school for a lesson or on the
Mm.
and so on. So once we saw that competition, I think after that, it might have been in 2001 or 2002, somewhere there, that the bug, the idea that I can compete, I can combine what I love, an animal that I love being around and spending time with my competitive edge and
Yeah.
passion for it. And that's pretty much how it all began for me. and where I said, I said ciao to the educational route.
Okay. Fair enough.
Sporting career.
I want to ask about the coming up through the ranks, especially at a time where there was absolutely zero awareness almost. But before that, I really want to talk about this very emotional side to this particular sport, because not a lot of sports person get to do that. The connection that is there with the horse, and like you said, you've had this thing pretty much all your life. Tell me a little bit about that connection, because I honestly, somebody who's had very limited interaction with horses, I love them, and maybe it has something to do subconsciously because I've been called a horse pretty much for a major part of my life, because like I used to run fast and kick things hard, and one of my friends was like, "You're a horse," and that's somehow stuck. He still has my name, same my name saved in his phone as that for some reason. So I just want to ask about that connection, as to whatever you can tell me about it.
So yeah, it's a special partnership bond. There you can relationship. You can chuck many nice words at it. And it's something that is, developed over many months, many hours, many years of training together. And it's sort of one way I describe it as two hearts coming together for one purpose. And it's a unspoken language, a communication that is silent but yet so evident that together you can showcase and perform and attain goals that sometimes you amaze. Sometimes it can even amaze us riders as well, like what you can achieve together. So it's very difficult to put a finger on it and explain that exactly. But it's almost like having that sort of team synchronicity when you're on the field with your teammates, and you place a ball, and your fellow teammate is there at the right time, at the right moment. It's something like that. It's just almost you're in sync.
Yeah.
To have that sort of, course, with a human athlete is something else, and it gives you a sort of high. But to have it with a horse, with something as powerful as a horse, with an animal which is genuinely kind by nature,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, it's very, very nice.
Okay. So let me come to that then. You spoke about how the competitive bug bit you at that point in time, early 2000s. How was it then coming up through the ranks in India? Like even today, I don't see a lot of awareness and support, but at that time, though, it was even lesser.
Yeah, I think sport from that time to where it is now has improved tremendously. And I think it grew progressively from there to let's say where it is now. And I think my journey there was, I don't think I ever saw competitive riding in equestrian, whether it was show jumping, dressage, or eventing, at
Mhm.
that point, really, as a career as such. I would say, it was just I get to compete. Started competing there in these local horse shows,
Yeah.
and from there we attempt. I think my junior nationals might have been in Calcutta in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
which was a disaster for me, because usually go to these shows and be quite competitive and wouldn't come home empty-handed. But I went there and came home without any medals. So I think that was a bitter bug to swallow.
Mm.
I remember my friends well, and anyway, and then 2003 I won my first national gold medal in Pune, I think. And then gradually it progressed from there. And then the good thing was, my dad always, or my both my parents always, when it didn't go well, because I would get quite down when I wouldn't win. So they were always quite supportive, and would cheer me up and say, "Don't worry, next show, your next show." So things like that, which helped me with it along the way.
Mm.
And as far as um, the recognition, I think, it's taken time, because I think, the level that we are at today, or competing at today, or looking to compete at, and so on, was not even a thought. It was so far away at that point.
Yeah.
Whoever had achieved it, like Mr. Imtiaz Anis and so on, he, I think, at the current time also based in the US or in Australia.
Yeah.
So they were, it was so far away, you didn't even think it
Fair.
was till much later on. And then, of course, the recognition and so on has grown significantly now that, had a bit of success. I hope it's on an upward spiral.
Do you see that spiral happening? Like, okay, it is on the upward spiral in terms of awareness, in terms of people getting into it more than anything else. I mean, I was lucky enough to speak with Tejas Dhingra
Yeah.
early last year, early 2024. So this is the conversation we were also having, that okay, he's seeing people around him also getting a little more interested. He's seeing a little more numbers getting into the sport. But what do you think needs to be done for India on the whole to take the next step?
So we're geographically, we're quite a difficult nation to sort of tackle this with what sort of works here in Europe, because simply
Hmm.
because the distance between our cities is so far.
Yeah.
And obviously weather plays a part in it. For example, summertime in Delhi or northern India, it's very difficult to do any
Fair.
outdoor sporting activities, let alone equestrian. So there are things to take into account, but I mean, let's say the most mainstream, or the first idea I have would be to increase the number of competitions that we host in a year, and I think that's one initiative that's already been taken.
Mm.
With the EFI calendar, they do have more competitions this year. Number one, because you need in sport. I feel, yes, you can train as much as you want at home, but competition is really where you learn a lot more, because there are things in competition that take place that you can never train for at home. So
Yeah.
these sort of experiences and knowledge, let's say, you learn at these events and so on, are invaluable for later on in your career. So I think in a young rider's career, so I think they need to compete as much as possible. I feel the training has to improve as well, particularly the basics. There's one idea that is that, a lot of ride times just wake up before the junior, so that it's sometimes too late to just got a championship some months before. I think it needs to be looked at long term idea. And now that it's not proven, that we can not only just by me, let's per se, that we can go and potentially compete on the highest stage in the world. It's also been proven by, for example, the dressage team at the last
Yeah.
on. So it's very, very attainable, and with more people into the sport in a serious way, and I think you need to look at it more and more as a profession. I don't think, it's not it is so competitive nowadays that it's not. I think it's sometimes, for many Western athletes, they do it on the side, or they do it as a
Yeah.
side thing. I think, it's nowadays it's so competitive. You need to have your full focus into it, and sometimes it might not be possible for many
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
on, but you've got the shot if you focus on one thing, solely. So, and I think it's a scary thing to think about, that I'll drop everything else and take this sport up wholeheartedly and single focused. But if you do have even a little bit of self belief and a bit of talent, but you're very, very hard work, you will definitely you'll definitely make it. So those of the athletes that are, dwelling yes or no. Yeah, if you work hard, I can tell you, you can stop everything else and take this up. You'll be fine.
Okay. Coming back to your journey, then the whole coming through the ranks happens. 2014 Asian Games happened. How was that experience? And 2014 Asian Games, in terms of competing there, what changed in terms of mentality, self belief? How was that on the whole?
So the 2014 Asian Games was a great experience, and I remember I went there very focused. I went there like a bloodhound on some trail. You know, I was
Okay.
I was so eager to do well there and prove. But perhaps I still needed to learn so much. It was quite early on in my
Yeah.
prof career, let's say, and I did as an experience. It was great, but I expected to do better. And I would say pressure wise or the atmosphere or handling the whole situation has never been a issue for me, as my dad
Okay.
also have big game temperament. I
Okay.
can keep quite cool, quite laid back, if you like, but I've been always able to handle the pressure very, very well.
Mm.
And also perform under those circumstances. So I felt at home at a big championship event. And in fact, it almost switches me on to the next level of concentration that I
Okay.
sometimes struggle to get, maybe competing at a local show or something. It
I understand.
just switches on something that says, okay, hey, now we're now we're really in the
Okay.
big. Now you really gotta pull it out. And just it was just amazing to represent India. I was so focused that I all my teammates went for the opening ceremony, but I wanted to, because I knew you had to stand for quite a long time.
Yeah.
um, and I didn't want to put strain on my back or things like that for a long time.
Okay.
Home so on. So I remember I said no, I'll watch it from home, from the athletes' village. And I was already at that point so switched on to all this that I said no, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna only do this, and I'm going to keep to myself. I'm gonna do. So it just showed me that, thinking back, that this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want to
Okay.
come kind of championships. I want to be there every time. And maybe it was a good thing that we possibly didn't come away with a medal or something, because that just made me a bit more hungry.
Okay. Okay. Following the Asian Games, I believe in a couple of years after that, the move to Europe happened, and then obviously the 2018 famous Asian Games happened. Tell me about the move to Europe. As like I understand, like you've already spoken about the eventing scene there and the kind of challenges that India presents more than anything else geographically.
Yeah.
What was the thought behind the whole thing in terms of, okay, this is needed at this point in time?
So the let's say the idea was, you need to, in order to improve, you need to compete amongst, let's say, the best in the world.
Okay.
You need to be situated where the heart of the sport is,
Okay.
to have access to the best training, the best competitions, the best coaches, and sort of, let's say, jumping into the fire, really. And that was the idea. I was very fortunate to be sponsored by the Embassy Group at the time. They had a program that had a few equestrian athletes from India based abroad,
Okay.
and we were sent to England to compete and train there. And it was great. It was, I'd I'd learned so many things in India that maybe, perhaps riders had not, maybe in a different way, had been educated. But there were some things that I learned in India that had encouraged my natural feel and natural talent to develop in a different way. But
Okay.
it stood me in such good stead, like when I initially came over, that I think people were surprised, genuinely surprised, that, okay, guy can ride. Oh, he has a wing.
Okay.
Then of course I had to undo many thany things.
Fair.
learn new things, and I think it helped with the whole changing my technical aspect of the
Mm.
game, becoming very precise, very correct, in every in and then also in as a complete equestrian athlete in terms of management, looking after horses. And not that we don't do it right in India, but it was different because we are two very different countries.
Yeah.
Not that Europe is a country, but how it's
I
run,
understand. Yeah. Two different systems almost. Okay.
compared because of climate. So it was a great gift actually that I was able to come here, because I
Mm.
think that kick started everything, like finding the horse that helped us do what we had to do at 2018.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of things, like you mentioned there were a couple of things that you took from India that probably weren't being done there. Could you, like, if at all it is possible, could you share like one of those just to?
Yeah, I think the first thing I have to say was, this might sound pretty. I learned how to win in India before I learned how to ride.
Okay.
um,
But that's
I
interesting.
which is in and that doesn't mean to say I don't encourage people going around extremely fast trying to win classes or anything like
Mm.
that. Not what I mean, but what I wanted to say by that was, my competitive flame was encouraged to shine or to burn quite bright and strong at home in India.
Okay.
All my trainers at the time and so on, to really become something that was quite hard to put out, yeah, until
Yeah.
now, for years and years and years to come. I think I think it's harder to do it the other way around, like to learn to ride and then suddenly learn to win, because then you almost feel like a fish out of water somehow.
Okay.
In my opinion, I could be very wrong. It could be different for many people, of course. But so that was one. And the second thing was I rode. Here in Europe, you ride horses that are bred specifically for the sport, who are
Yeah.
very good athletes themselves, and are, yeah. I think in what helped me in India is I rode so many different types of horses, so
Yeah.
many horses so early on, that helped my natural feel for horses, different kinds of horses, different types of horses, and gave me it stood me in good stead here in Europe. I mean, I was able to then sit on horses, develop horses here in Europe, and quite quickly develop a partnership with them, because I had so many exposed to so many different things at home. And I definitely believe in the saying or the term: the more horses you ride, the better you get.
I maybe I'm again in my very very limited knowledge. Maybe it's more of a case of it maybe makes people a little better at building a certain kind of bond as well with animals in general, thanks to multiple experiences and multiple kinds of experiences.
Yes, yes, there is definitely that aspect involved. And for example, every horse is different, and some are similar, some aren't. So, you just learn, exactly that. You learn, how what one might like, what one might not like, and you develop, I think, into an athlete. For me, I think my way of riding is, some equestrian athletes sit on a horse and they would like the horse to develop or change according to their style of riding. I would say I'm a little bit the opposite, and probably that's where my experiences in India have helped. I sort of adapt my riding to suit the horse,
Okay.
and helps the partnership, I think, develop a bit quicker, as because you work with the horse rather than trying to change too much. So I think this experience of riding so many different horses help, because you're not going to be able to change multiple horses to suit your
Fair,
style,
fair.
and really the different breeds and so on that we've I got to spend time with, and to all of them in India, I have to say, to all of my horses I've had in my career, I have to say thank you to
Absolutely.
for helping me all this way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, 2018 Asian Games happened, the great success happened. Then we moved towards the Olympics. And while we are moving towards the Olympics, there comes a huge challenge for the entire world, all of us included. So, how was it then getting to those Olympics on the back of that challenging period? Because it takes a toll. It takes a toll. Like you said, it is a very high intensity sport, especially in terms of developing and maintaining that connection, one, and two, maintaining yourself more than anything else. How was it then getting to the Olympics and then getting to the final stage?
So the qualification year, actually, the horse I'd ridden in the Asian Games, Senior Medicot, actually, he actually got injured that year, and I was very fortunate to be mounted with two other horses, Fernal FaceTime and Touching Wood, that helped us secure the berth for Tokyo.
Yeah,
And but I would say they were perhaps not the same caliber of horse as Senior Medicot was. They were good horses, they were very good horses, but I think Senior Medicot was something else.
mm,
And we were all slightly concerned whether he would come recover from his injury in time for Tokyo when it was scheduled to happen in 2020.
yeah,
So, as it was when this big catastrophe struck, and then there were all these discussions of whether it was going to happen or not going to happen, and
yeah,
the world then just came to a stop. In my mind, part of me was concerned of whether it will ever take place. That was one concern of mine. But the fact that it kept getting delayed and postponed was for me a blessing in disguise, because it kept giving Senya Maricot more time to recover and more time to get back to his old self.
yeah,
It was yeah, like I said, one sided. I was a bit nervous. Oh, my first Olympics, and I've qualified, and we've got the space, but is it going to happen? And so
yeah.
on. But on the other side, I was like, okay, yeah, a little bit longer, a little bit longer,
Fair.
that this horse can recover. And anyway, he recovered beautifully, in fact better than ever, and we were able to compete there. Yeah.
Okay. I think Senior Medicott is a legend in his own right already in the Indian equestrian circles. The horse needs no introduction whatsoever. Okay. The Olympics happen, then obviously every cycle comes with its own set of challenges. Where are things today? Like going into the new year, where do you think things are going?
So I think they're going in a good direction. Definitely, the future is bright,
Mm.
and I hope I'm on a golden path. And in terms of horsepower, I am well mounted,
Okay.
and we have to compete in the Continental Championships in Pattaya at the end of this year. That would be our major goal. The other major goal, probably on par or on level with this championship in Thailand, is to qualify for the World Championships and the Asian Games
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah.
And then there are some small sort of plans that we have, but it's I'm now we are running I'm running a stable here of 11 horses,
Okay.
and we are also producing these horses from a very young age to the top sport. So we
Okay.
have horses coming in that we're developing and training and introducing to the sport, to grooming them to be India's future champions.
Okay.
So that's where we are at the minute, and we're really, really looking forward to this year ahead, and very excited.
Okay. I hope all the best things come your way, man. This is a genuine wish from all of us. Before I let you go, I've already taken a lot of your time. I know that it's very early in the morning. Just wanted to ask one thing. Can you give me one moment, one high and one low throughout this journey that has helped shape you as an athlete and as an individual?
That's a good question, I have to say, and I think let's start with the low so we can end on a high.
For sure, for sure, for
Missing the qualification for Paris this year,
sure.
by the smallest and smallest and smallest of margins, if you could phrase it into that. That's I was down. I was very upset because it was so close. It was all there.
Yeah,
I would have been there, but some mistakes. Oh yeah, mistakes, bad luck, wasn't meant to be. Whatever you want to call it, had taken place, occurred. That just I really had to think two times of that, because that stung. That really stung me and really put me down. And but a couple of weeks out of after that situation, I just realized that made me a bit stronger, a bit more focused, but on a different looking at it in a different sense, almost looking at it from a different angle, that I came to, because it was the first time that I had aimed for a championship,
mm,
needed to make the team or make the spot, or
yeah,
so it was quite difficult for me, because every goal I had set out for myself, I had pretty much attained. So for the first time to not achieve it was quite hard. It was a pill to swallow, and I think it just made me look at things very, very differently. It helped me, I think, at that point. When during the whole selection trials, I was slightly on the back foot anyway, because I was also had some horses out due to injury and so on. So I was chasing more the whole season last year leading up to Paris, and I was stressed because of that, and I was always stressed about the future. So I think the main takeaway from that experience was to not be stuck in the past, and to not be stressing about the future. And the whole come away point was that to just be in the present moment.
that's a good
And
one.
that's helped me now, and I take every day, one day at a time, and just focus on the now. Of
Okay,
course, I have ideas, visualizations, and so on, about what's to come, but the only thing I have control of is now.
fair,
So, and
fair,
it's now which will shape my future.
very fair.
It was a hard way to learn that. But
Generally, good things are taught the hard way, so that's okay.
so
That's
that,
life.
and I say the biggest, the a high moment was after having, it was probably last year as well, and I would say it's after having gone through all of that
Hmm.
drama of not qualifying, losing sponsorships, and so
Hmm.
on, to get two consecutive international career wins in a row.
Yeah.
One on a horse that was self-produced, one on a horse that was coming back from an injury and people had doubts about, or so those two wins just helped shine the light through the tunnel a little bit stronger, a little bit brighter, and it just made everything okay. We're onto something again, and
Nice.
uh, to keep going. And so I think that highlight.
Nice. Nice. Okay, last question then. If anyone, whoever is listening to this, if anyone is to take one thing from your journey so far to help them in life, whatever, I'm not even just restricting it to the sport. What is that one thing people can and probably should take from you and your journey so far?
Uh, I've 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 been very fortunate. I've been very fortunate and so lucky to have come across so many different people, so many different circumstances, so many different horses. I've been so fortunate to be blessed to have experienced all I have experienced so far, and all what I will experience in the future. And I sometimes you say, why, or how come me? Yeah. But I think I like to think I'm a kind person and a genuine person who I always try to help others wherever I can. And I like to think I'm smiling 99% of the time and
Okay.
grateful, thankful for whatever opportunities were given to me. And more than anything, like I grabbed opportunities with both hands and ran away with it and gave it my very, very best.
Okay.
I think I always had most of the time, a very positive mindset. Of course, there are times where you link away into a negative way of thinking, but I was quite quickly turned around and spun back the other way, the positive route, by friends, family, and bosses, I think, as well. They have very good energy, and I think I get a lot of my vibe off them. So that would be my takeaway, if that helps anyone.
I think that is an important takeaway for anybody listening out there. I think we need more of this. We need more of just kindness, plain basic kindness, more than anything else in this world right now. And things come back.
Yeah.
It's all a circle. Thank you so much for this. Was a very, 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 very insightful conversation, and a lot to learn, a lot to actually think about for everybody listening out there, for me as well. So thank you so much for taking out the time. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Sajay.